For 30 years, Mike Tyson carried the pain of being the scared little kid that Steve Morrison used to beat up every day after school. Steve had made his childhood a living hell, calling him names, taking his lunch money, and making him feel worthless. When Tyson finally became the heavyweight champion of the world, many people expected him to seek revenge. But when he accidentally ran into Steve 3 decades later in a run-down neighborhood in Brooklyn, what Iron Mike did next would shock everyone who thought they knew him, and completely transform the life of the man who had once been his worst nightmare. Mike Tyson's story actually begins in 1978 in Brooklyn's Brownsville neighborhood. 12-year-old little Michael was known in the neighborhood as the Coward. He was scrawny, shy, a kid who didn't know how to fight. And Steve Morrison. Steve was 15, big, strong, and a ruthless bully. Every morning going to school was torture for Michael. Steve would be waiting for him. "Hey, coward Mike," Steve would yell, "I'm taking your money again today." Michael would hand over his lunch money, trembling. Sometimes Steve would slap him, humiliate him in front of other kids. "You'll never amount to anything," Steve would say. "You're just a little weak coward." The days of this torment turned into months. Michael would come home crying, and when his mother Lorna asked what happened, he'd say, "Nothing." Inside him was growing anger and pain, but he couldn't tell anyone. One day, Steve killed Michael's beloved pigeons. He brutally killed these little birds that were the child's only comfort right in front of him. "Weak things like you don't deserve to live," Steve had laughed. That night, Michael cried and cried. But at the same time, something changed inside him. He had to find a way to end this torment. When fate introduced Michael to Cus D'Amato, the legendary trainer saw his potential. But he also noticed the deep wounds in the child's soul. "You need to learn to control the anger inside you, Michael," Cus said. "That anger can make you strong, but it can also destroy you." Michael started boxing training. With every punch he threw, he saw Steve's face. In every sparring session, he was fighting that childhood bully. Months passed. Michael was getting stronger. His technique was improving. But Steve's influence was still in his mind. One day at school, Steve picked on Michael as usual. But this time, something different happened. Michael stood up to him. "That's enough," Michael said, his voice trembling but determined. Steve laughed. "You telling me to stop, coward?" Then he tried to punch Michael. But Michael saw his movement, dodged, and struck back. One punch hard right to his jaw. Steve fell to the ground. He looked up in shock. The other kids were amazed too. Michael returned home that day as a different person. He was no longer a victim. He was a fighter. Years passed. Michael Tyson became Mike Tyson, then Iron Mike, the most feared boxer in the world, the youngest heavyweight champion at 20. He was destroying every opponent, fighting as if he was battling Steve Morrison in the ring. But success didn't heal his childhood wounds. Tyson still carried that scared little boy inside him. He had anger problems, exhibited uncontrolled behavior. "I'm still that scared kid," he would confess years later. "I just know how to hit now." When he went to prison in 2003, Tyson had the opportunity to examine his life. He read books, studied philosophy, went on an inner journey. When he came out, he was a different person, calmer, more thoughtful, more compassionate. But the Steve Morrison issue was still unresolved. In 2018, Tyson was visiting his old neighborhood in Brooklyn. He was going to speak to young people at a community center. When he entered, he saw the homeless man sitting in the corner. Old, worn down, weathered by life's hardships, but a face he could recognize. Steve Morrison. Tyson's heart raced. After 30 years, he was face to face with the source of his nightmares. Steve hadn't noticed him yet. Thousands of thoughts went through Tyson's mind. He could get revenge. He could beat Steve up, make him pay for what he'd put him through as a child. No one could stop him. Everyone would think he was justified. But Tyson chose a different path. He slowly approached Steve. When the old man looked up, his eyes widened with fear and surprise. "Mike? Mike Tyson?" "Hello, Steve." Steve tried to get up, but his legs were shaking. I dot. "Relax, Steve. I didn't come here to hurt you." But Steve was terrified. "I know I deserve whatever's coming. I'm sorry for what I did to you as a kid. I know you want revenge." Tyson looked at Steve. In front of him was no longer that powerful bully, just a broken, defeated old man crushed by life. "Steve, how are you? Where are you living?" Steve was surprised. He wasn't expecting this question. "I'm homeless. Can't find work. Had drinking problems. My family left me." Tyson nodded. "You're in a tough spot." "Yeah, and I deserve it after what I did to you." "Steve, stop. We can't change the past, but we can change the future." Tyson took out his phone. He called his social worker friend. "Sarah? It's Mike. I found someone who needs help." "Yeah, right now." Steve couldn't believe it. "What are you doing?" "I'm helping you." "But I did to you." "I know what you did, but right now you need help." That day, Tyson took Steve to a rehabilitation center. He paid for the costs with his own money. He bought Steve clean clothes, found him a place to stay. "Why?" Steve asked, crying. "Why are you helping me?" Tyson thought. "Because you taught me to be strong, Steve. What you did to me made me a fighter. Now I want to use that fighting spirit to help you." Steve couldn't hold back his tears. "I'm so sorry, Mike. I'm so sorry." "I know. Now it's time for you to forgive yourself." Tyson didn't abandon Steve. He visited regularly, followed his rehabilitation process. Steve overcame his alcohol addiction, found a job, started living in a small but clean apartment. 6 months later, Steve visited Tyson. He looked clean, well-groomed, dignified. "Mike, I want to tell you something." "I'm listening." "You saved my life, but you also taught me what real manhood is. Being strong isn't about crushing the weak. Being strong is about lifting up the fallen." Tyson smiled. "You taught me something too, Steve." "What?" "That forgiveness is stronger than revenge." Steve is now one of Tyson's close friends. He works at a youth center in Brooklyn helping street kids. He especially focuses on children experiencing bullying. "I was once a bully," he tells the kids, "and it got me nowhere. Don't bully. If you're strong, protect the weak." Tyson and Steve now go to seminars together. They speak about bullying, forgiveness, and second chances. "People can change," Tyson says. "I was an angry child, a violent young man, but I changed. Steve changed too." "Mike didn't just give me a new life," Steve says. "He taught me how to be human." One day, a reporter asked Mike, "Why didn't you get revenge?" "You had the right," Tyson thought. "Getting revenge would have been easy, but that would have made me like Steve, someone who causes pain. Instead, I chose to be someone who heals pain." Steve adds, "The mercy Mike showed me was the greatest show of strength I've ever seen. No knockout in the ring is as impressive as that." The most beautiful part of this story is that it continues. Steve now helps other bullies, guiding them to the right path. Tyson also gives young people the message that being strong means helping, not hurting. "As a child, Steve was my nightmare," Tyson says. "Now he's my biggest helper in making the world a better place." And Steve, "Mike didn't just save me," he says. "He showed me that change is possible. Now I try to give others the same chance." Sometimes the greatest victories are won by not seeking revenge. Sometimes real power lies in turning your enemy into a friend. And sometimes the person who hurt you the most is the person you can change the most. Tyson and Steve's story teaches us this. The past doesn't define you. Who you choose to be today matters, and forgiveness frees both the giver and the receiver. I'm not that bully anymore, Steve says, and he's not that scared kid anymore. We both became better people. This is true victory. Victory won in life, not in the ring. Victory won with the heart, not with fists. And this story continues every day. With every child Steve helps, with every young person Tyson inspires. Because kindness is contagious. Forgiveness creates a chain reaction. 30 years ago, there were two kids, bully and victim. Today, there are two men, friend and mentor, both working to make the world a better place. And perhaps most importantly, both found peace. They stepped out of the shadow of the past and walked into the light of the future. Together. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It took months of careful rehabilitation, honest conversations, and genuine commitment from both men. Steve had to confront not just his addiction, but the deeper issues that had made him a bully in the first place. I was hurting too, Steve admitted during one of their talks. My dad used to beat me, told me I was worthless. I guess I passed that pain along to you. I get it now, Tyson replied. Hurt people, but healed people can heal people. The turning point came when Steve completed his rehabilitation program. Tyson was there for his graduation ceremony, sitting in the front row like a proud family member. When Steve received his certificate, he dedicated it to the man who taught me that strength means lifting others up, not tearing them down. Today, their friendship serves as a powerful example in the communities they serve. Young people see that if these two can overcome such a painful history, anyone can change, anyone can forgive, anyone can start over. Mike could have destroyed me that day we met again. Steve often tells the kids he counsels. Instead, he rebuilt me. That's the kind of person I want to be now, someone who builds people up. And Tyson? He's found that helping Steve heal also healed something deep inside himself. I spent years carrying that anger, he reflects. When I let it go and chose to help instead, I became free. Steve gave me a gift that day, the chance to be better than my worst impulses. Their story proves that redemption is possible, that people can change, and that sometimes the greatest victories happen not when we defeat our enemies, but when we turn them into allies. In a world that often believes in permanent judgment and endless punishment, Mike Tyson and Steve Morrison show us a different way. The way of second chances, transformation, and hope. The scared little boy and the neighborhood bully grew up to become champions of compassion, proving that our worst moments don't have to define us. Our best moments, the moments when we choose kindness over revenge, understanding over hatred, those are the moments that show who we really are.